Guten Morgen und willkommen to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I'm joined by a man who's laughing at my German. His name is Taylor Rockwell.
Hello. I like that you made it time specific.
Oh, yeah, certainly. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's not morning where we are, but I figure it's morning where someone is.
It's also the second time I think that you've been so excited to get your pronunciation right that you kind of forget to actually introduce me.
I introduced you. I said, here's Taylor Rockwell. He's my co-host. We do the show together. Well, I think this might be the only time you're laughing at Germans. You might be respecting them for the rest of the tournament.
I'll be happily laughing. If my predictions come true, I'll be happily laughing.
So we are here to preview Group F. Mm-hmm. That is Germany, Mexico, Sweden, and Korea. Mm-hmm. Are you ready?
It also says Squarespace and Roughneck on that board. Are they in the group as well?
They are. It's a 6-team group.
Okay, wow. Yeah. That's going to be risky.
Yeah, they're trialing it for 2026.
All right.
Are you ready to start with Germany?
Yeah.
What is their nickname, and what should their nickname be?
Well, their nickname is Die Mannschaft or Nationalmannschaft, but not really. They don't really like that at all. So my TSS nickname is Nicht die Mannschaft, which is not the team.
Not the team.
Yes.
That's also not a great nickname, though, right?
I mean, it at least gets the point across that they do not want to be called Die Mannschaft.
This is just a public awareness campaign to not call Germany Die Mannschaft.
I mean, they got a lot of other stuff to talk about. I figured, why not start with the nickname?
Is that your real nickname for them?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Not the team.
Okay, well, luckily my nickname is a way to talk about the team. Mm-hmm. I am calling Germany the Terminators.
Okay.
Because they can't be bargained with. They can't be reasoned with. They don't fear pity or remorse or fear, and they absolutely will not stop ever until you are dead. Mm-hmm. That is the German national team.
I'm trying to make an Austria joke there because that would fit, but oh well.
So this team is relentless, is what I'm getting at.
Gotcha.
Right? This team is absolutely relentless, similar to 2014 and 2016.
To clarify, what do you mean when you say relentless? Let's get into that right away.
Once they get the ball, they will work you backwards and backwards and backwards. They will grind you down, and they will eventually score a goal. I think they're ruthless in that way.
I agree. And I think you're going to hear a lot about like ruthless efficiency and kind of a little bit stereotypical comments.
Yeah, those are just national stereotype type things.
They are, but I think they kind of fit. But I think with any sort of stereotype, there is like some truth behind it. There's also a lot of sort of hyperbole and easy, lazy analysis. But I think in this case, what I wanted to say is that I feel like it is very like stereotypical German in that a lot of the squad feels sort of like plug and play, where it's like, oh, this isn't working, we'll remove that and add that, and now it works fine. Oh, that part is malfunctioning, we'll take him out and put that one in, and now it works perfectly.
Here's the best thing I ever heard about German efficiency from a German, is that it's not like some weird magical efficiency. It's that we follow the rules, right? So the Autobahn, no one goes slow on the Autobahn because it would ruin everything. Everybody follows the rules, and when they sort of build,
or they keep that left lane open.
But when they build a building or an airport, they know how much it's going to cost. Like they give an honest assessment of how much it will cost and how long it will take, and then it takes that long and it costs that much because everybody follows the rules, and that leads to efficiency. Right? So we've got international stereotypes and maybe the reasons behind them. That also fits with this team. Everybody knows the plan. There's plug and play because everybody knows what they're supposed to do, and then they go out there and they do it.
A little bit of shade thrown. Have you ever heard the quote about like I think it was a German commander in World War II, arguing.
Oh, we'd have to talk about the war. Don't mention the war, Basil Fawlty.
It's why he said why the United States is so good at warfare. It's because war is chaos, and the United States Army practices chaos every single day, whereas Germany is all about following the rules and efficiency, so that causes problems. But I think this German team can spring a little bit of their own chaos, but then they can also, as you said, be very methodical in their destruction.
So people will be familiar with Germany from, say, 2014. Yep. What has changed between 2014 when they won the World Cup and 2018 when they're going to try and do it again?
Well, Miroslav Klose is still there. He's still going to... No, he's not.
He's not allowed at the World Cup anymore because he scored too many goals.
Yeah. Some of those faces are not there. Mario Götze, very important to clarify which Mario, because Mario Gomez is still there, but Mario Götze, Andreas Schürrle, some of those players who we remember from 2014 will not be there, are not there because Jogi Löw has freshened his side up and really done this sort of ruthless job of picking players that fit exactly what he wants, and that meant leaving players like Leroy Sané not on the plane, I guess.
Yeah, off the plane.
There you go.
What you're going for there. Yeah, and what Jogi Löw really did is he used the Confederations Cup last year in Russia as a tryout for the sort of newer players.
Yeah.
And he's ended up, giving a spot to guys like Leon Goretzka and Julian Brandt, who went to the Confederations Cup and impressed. I don't want to go overboard, but it might be the most successful use of a Confederations Cup I've ever seen.
Yeah,
it might be the most. Well, I mean, the tournament will tell, right? But it might be the most successful freshening up of a championship-winning team we've ever seen.
I think so. And again, that's where I go back to. I think Brazil have this, and I think Germany have this. And that is why I have them as my two favorites. It's because it really is, in my mind, a team that you can just switch players in and out. You can add this player, remove this player to get exactly what you need out of them. And I think a lot of times it comes down to like international management isn't necessarily as hard as we might make it seem, but I think a big part of it is having your team all prepared and having your plans laid out so that you don't have to make any sort of controversial decision. Leroy Sané was obviously one, but I feel like he made that decision, he being Jogi Löw, so that when Germany are playing a team and they have center backs who are weak in the air, then you know that's going to be Mario Gomez. But if they have like basically I think he has players knowing exactly when they're going to play so that you don't have that drama, you don't have that speculation.
And isn't part of the Leroy Sané, I mean, you're more of an expert in this because you wrote that Athletic story, but part of the Leroy Sané exclusion is there was one spot on the team for a young attacking winger, essentially, and it was between Julian Brandt and Leroy Sané. And that you can't take two just because they're both good names.
Right.
Jogi Löw had specific roles and specific spots in the team, and it was just Brandt or Sané, and one of those exciting young players had to miss out because there was only room for one.
Yeah, and he has emphasized, he being Löw, has emphasized Julian Brandt's performance at the Confederations Cup. Both showed he could compete at that level, but also showed that he could blend very well with the team because, again, they're all about chemistry and camaraderie.
Knows his way around Russia now?
He knows his way around Russia now. That is a part of it.
Yeah.
Whereas Leroy Sané, I believe,
should have gone backpacking to Russia. That's what Sané should have done.
I don't think so. Maybe he should have just gone to the Confederations Cup. He had surgery instead. We don't know if that was necessary surgery or elective surgery, but either way, he wasn't at the Confederations Cup, which is part of the reason why he's not going to the World Cup.
Yep. One more thing on Sané. Löw was very specific. He'll be back in September. He's a big part of the future of the team.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm sure that means a lot to him right now.
Yeah, that's not going to help him this summer, I suppose.
Don't worry, you're going to be really important in our upcoming friendlies.
Should we get into the players who are there? Who are you most looking forward to watching for Germany?
I mean, it goes into my prediction, and I think we might disagree on it a little bit. I'm really excited to see Manuel Neuer back. I really, really am.
All right, give us the Manuel Neuer backstory.
Sure. Manuel Neuer is, I think, on his game when he's at full fitness, one of, if not the best keepers in the world.
I think you overqualified that. I think he is the best goalkeeper in the world.
I love David De Gea, is what I have to say to that. I think he is certainly the best sweeper keeper, and that is a key part of what he brings both to Bayern Munich and to this Germany team.
He allows the defence to play high up the field because he can take care of all that space in behind them if needed. It lets Germany really squeeze you. It lets them do the Terminator thing where they will not stop coming for you.
And this is where I think we might disagree because the key point with Manuel Neuer broke his foot in September, has not played for Bayern Munich since September. But because Jogi Löw trusts him and he is back to some level of full fitness, Manuel Neuer is going to the World Cup. I think will likely start for Germany. And my prediction is that Manuel Neuer will have a Manuel Neuer moment that will remind us all how much fun it is to watch Manuel Neuer.
Interesting. I have a prediction. We have dueling predictions here. I think Manuel Neuer...
We don't really, though, if you listen to my wording, but go ahead.
There will be a Manuel Neuer disaster, which will be maybe him racing out of the box and not quite getting somewhere, or miskicking a ball. If you saw did you see the Germany-Austria game? Germany lost 2-1. It was Neuer's first game back. He didn't have a genuine howler that you could pin on him.
Oh, but this is the one that, sorry to interrupt you, but that game is the one also that Leroy Sané started, played 65 minutes, I think, something like that. And I think that was seen as his final straw when he didn't really have an impact.
His final chance, I would say. Last chance saloon for Sané for the World Cup. Yeah.
But anyway.
So Manuel Neuer, one of the corner kicks that Austria score off of, Manuel Neuer kind of fluffs a clearance. It's not a horror show. I don't want to oversell it, but it just seems like he's not fully in tune. You know what I mean? He's like a race car that's not fully tuned up, ready to go.
If only there was some sort of series of games called tune-up games that he could use to prepare for the World Cup.
He already missed some of the earlier ones, right? Because he's only just back. Yeah. And I really think it's a long way to go from not playing at all, couple of like pre-World Cup warm-ups, and then into the World Cup. I think that's a big ask. I understand the importance and the talent of Manuel Neuer. I also just have a general policy that you don't take injured players or recently injured players to the World Cup. And I think Germany had enough other options that it wasn't worth taking this risk. I think Ter Stegen could have done the job admirably.
See, I think I disagree with you because I don't think it was Yogi Low being like, oh man, I hope he's fit. Like, we need him there. Our other options aren't very good. I think it's specifically what Manuel Neuer offers. Yogi Low is a person who, if he trusts you, if you've earned his trust, if you have instilled belief, I think he rewards that. And I think he sees Manuel Neuer as a player who, he's got Ter Stegen, he's got Kevin Trapp. I don't think either one of those can do the things that he wants Manuel Neuer to do.
Isn't Ter Stegen decent off his line? Maybe not Manuel Neuer.
He's just not Manuel Neuer. I mean, yes, he may very well be.
He's irreplaceable in that way.
I think so. I think that's what it comes down to. But again...
That makes sense, and I can understand the reasoning. I still think we might see a howler.
Again, if you listen to my prediction, it's that Manuel Neuer will have a Manuel Neuer moment that reminds us all how much fun it is to watch Manuel Neuer. Now, that could be him coming 40 yards off his line to make a slide tackle.
Sneaky two-faced predictor.
But it's why I predicted is because it also might be that moment where it's like, ooh, he got beat. That's not good. And then it's like a scramble. It makes it very interesting for a German team in that, as we've talked about, like, they're ruthless, they're efficient. So when you have those moments of like, whoa, that was kind of relaxed, I didn't see that coming, that's interesting. But the other thing is, Manuel Neuer is a very good goalkeeper, and we kind of forget that or don't really emphasize that because we're too busy emphasizing the slide tackle that happened right by the touchline.
I see.
But he can pull those saves out of nowhere, and he has
wrists of steel.
He has those crazy reflexes. He's got the wrists that can palm the ball out of the goal when he has no business doing it. I think he's equally capable of that. We'll see what happens in that first group stage game.
All right, let's move on from Manuel Neuer.
I could do like 10 more minutes.
I'd like to just move forward to in front of him. I think one of Germany's big strengths, those centre-backs in front of him.
Yeah.
Jerome Boateng and Mats Hummels.
You wonder about their familiarity, though. Are they closely bonded enough?
Are likely to start, right?
Yeah.
They are the Bayern Munich centre-backs. Manuel Neuer is the Bayern Munich goalkeeper. Yeah, they do have a bond in there.
Do you feel like Bayern Munich is sort of underrepresented in this German national team starting 11? No, they're not at all.
I think they're just fine.
Yeah.
Here's what I like about Hummels and Boateng. I think we sort of know about their defensive skill sets, right? Yeah. They're just really impossible to beat. They're great at stepping to the ball, both great in the air. They are both wonderful playing the ball out of the back. So Germany doesn't have to have, say it's Toni Kroos in midfield, and it will be, right? He doesn't have to come and sit between the centre-backs and take the ball off of them because they can't do it properly. All the German midfielders and attackers can advance ahead of Boateng and Hummels and the fullbacks and be very confident that they will find their feet. If not, they can also ping a ball.
The direct over ball.
And Boateng can play the direct over ball.
Yep.
My prediction number one, Hummels and Boateng will both get an assist at this World Cup. And it will either be a long-range ping, like they do, and maybe it'll be Timo Werner, they spring over the top, which is a possibility. We'll talk about him later. Or it's that thing where Germany slowly force you back and crush up the field, and you sometimes get to a point where Boateng and Hummels, or one of them will be really far forward and almost like an extra midfielder. So they almost take on an attacking role, and they're in a spot to maybe even play a through ball. And then on top of that, Germany are really good, the US learned this in 2014, really good at sort of set plays on corner kicks, setting picks, setting screens. So I can see them having a header from the back post over to the near post for a teammate to finish off.
Or they'll just play the ball laterally to Joshua Kimmich, and then he'll run 90 yards and score.
Yes. So is that what he did for Bayern in the Champions League? Right?
I mean, he's done it there. He's done it for Germany too. 2 goals in qualifying for Kimmich.
This is the terrifying thing with Germany. Right. Philipp Lahm was so important to that 2014 team, and you would think
irreplaceable.
There's no replacing him. And then if you paid no attention between 2014 and 2018, you get to 2010, you're like, What? There's another one? What are they doing? Joshua Kimmich will dominate from right back.
Yeah, and will dominate from right back and 4 years to come. He's 23 years old. Oh. It's ridiculous.
Oh.
Yeah. But he is going to be, of the 2 fullbacks, it'll be Joshua Kimmich, it'll be Jonas Hector.
The less glamorous Jonas Hector.
Yeah,
the relegated Jonas Hector.
True. And not because of that, but I think also less glamorous because I think he's the one of the 2 fullbacks who's probably going to stay back a bit more. He'll still get forward at times, but I think he'll do more defensive work.
Yeah.
Kimmich obviously doing a defensive job as well, but I think he's the one who you'll see routinely involved in attacks, crossing the ball, cutting inside, combining for 1-2s, all that good stuff.
So if you're going to pick a weak link for the German team, you would maybe circle Jonas Hector, but you'd really be grasping at straws.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a lot of that.
You'd just be trying.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of grasping at straws.
It would be like, from yesterday's preview, it would be like calling Danilo the weak link for Brazil.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? It's a very similar situation.
Yeah.
Okay, in midfield, we think it's going to be Toni Kroos.
We know it's going to be Toni Kroos.
We know it's going to be Toni Kroos. Why is he so important? Real Madrid fans will know. Maybe if you haven't seen Germany for a while, you might not.
I mean, is that not enough? Can I not just say 3 Champions Leagues in a row and leave it at that?
You can. He's a big part of it.
I mean, he's a huge part of it. And he's a huge part of it at a time when they're, like, it would be very easy for Madrid to have gone with a more defensive midfielder in there or to keep him in a more advanced position. The fact that he is able to at times play like a 4-4-2 and it's just him and Luka Modric, neither one of whom I would think is a very defensive player, but they're so good on the ball and calm in possession that it kind of makes up for it. And it's one of those situations we've talked about where almost being able to possess and be calm under pressure is a form of defending. That if you don't let the opponent get the ball, then they can't really attack you.
Yep. Yeah, he is unmuggable. Right? He just keeps the ball out of reach. And then when he decides to unleash a pass, he's another one with a great crossfield ball, great through ball. He can really make it work when he wants to.
On the muggability index, so I guess you want to be at the bottom of the muggability index, it's Luka Modric and then Toni Kroos right above him. It's 1-2 like that.
That is why Real Madrid is so good, right? It's
Pretty
much. Huge part of it. It's a huge part of it.
Yep.
Superman is in there somewhere as well.
Probably.
No,
and then
no pockets.
If something goes horribly wrong, if Toni Kroos needs a break, I liked it, then Sebastian Rudy will maybe deputize for him. But the question I have is if Germany are going with a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 sort of situation, you're going to have another center midfielder. I don't know if you knew that or not, Daryl. And the question for me is who's it going to be?
It's either Sami Khedira, the veteran, or Ilkay Gundogan, the non-veteran but very talented.
Yeah.
I would go Khedira if they need some more defending done. Gundogan if they want some passing done.
I think that's literally what they'll do.
Yeah,
I think against the stronger opponents where they feel a little bit more that there's an attacking threat, you probably put Khedira in there. Yeah, and
he's no slouch with the ball either, right?
No,
he certainly can pick a pass and move the ball around. He wouldn't be playing for Germany if not.
But he can, exactly. But he can drop a little bit to like shield that back four and cover a little bit more space and be a little bit more physically tenacious and allow Toni Kroos to do more Toni Kroos things. That said, I mean, he can put in a tackle, he can put in a challenge, he can be physical himself. But I think if you have those two, it's going to be Khedira doing more of the number 6 work.
Fair enough. All right, farther forward, before we talk about all the wingers and attacking midfielders, I want to talk about Timo Werner. Because to me, he is the new ingredient at this restaurant.
Yeah.
Right? Because 2014 and for a while before, there wasn't really any sort of pacey centre forward that Germany could call on, right?
There's a lot of parallels between Germany and Brazil, I'm realizing.
Except Germany figured it out in 2014. And
there's that.
Sometimes Miroslav Klose, sometimes Thomas Müller, and kind of made it work.
I would say they emphatically figured it out in the semi-final.
Well, Brazil had Fred.
Yeah.
So this year, it looks like Timo Werner's the starter, right? Mario Gomez could come in at some point. The impossible to say goodbye to Mario Gomez doesn't know the meaning of the word Alfredo Zen.
I think it's because we always link him with Miroslav Klose that I always think Mario Gomez is older than he is. He's only 32.
Yeah.
Like, I had this idea in my head that he's like 36.
He's just been around a while. It's because we saw him at the Euro 2008, 10 years ago, right?
I think he's also one of those who doesn't age. Like, I feel like if you looked at a photo of him when he was 22 and looked at a photo of him now, he has not really aged in a decade.
All right, Mario Gomez, vampire. But Timo Werner...
who's the one? Dorian Gray. It's a Dorian Gray situation.
there's a portrait
of him getting uglier,
Timo Werner. I want to talk about Timo Werner because this is a new thing for Germany and it's sort of changed what they can do. I think they can hit you on the break a lot faster because Timo Werner just is that guy, right? He's the running in behind at pace and not just like regular pace, the pace that scares people pace. Yeah?
Yeah. I mean, he's got that. Again, he's got the physicality, but I think you're absolutely right that in a way, I think he like really, really intensifies the German attack, which is not something I expected to say about him because I wasn't as impressed when I saw him with RB Leipzig. I think I've already referenced it on here and on the Top Drawer Soccer Show, the incident where he had to be subbed out against Besiktas.
Yeah.
Like those moments made me wonder.
Him, right?
Yeah, they made me.
To be fair, that's the only incidents of
and
that.
Besiktas is very loud, and there also may have been lots of other issues going on. We don't know, but that was, I think, the thing that sticks with me, and kind of it's the first impression syndrome, I guess. And so then you kind of watch him in the friendlies and in like important competitions for Germany, and you see the variety that he brings to the attack that maybe they didn't have there in 2014, and you understand now why he would be the starter for Germany.
Here's the one thing that concerns me with Timo Werner. So if you watch him for RB Leipzig, he's very good when RB Leipzig do what they do, which is win the ball high and go and the space to run into, and then his pace is devastating and his finishing is really impressive. When Germany do their pressing, because Germany will press high at times, right? And they are very, very good at it, or when they counter-press, there's a chance that he springs into space and he's dangerous. But if Germany have one of those long possession spells where they creep up on you and they're passing the ball around the top of your box, and Timo Werner's in the middle, this is my ignorance. I don't know how useful he is in that situation.
Here's what I'll say.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I absolutely know. I don't know if this necessarily answers your question, but I remember playing for a team, like one of the better teams I've ever played on, and we had a guy. I've never seen anybody as fast as him. Like, he was the fastest player I've ever played with, and we put him up top. Our coach did, and his big plan with this guy, and it worked usually, was one time we would just bang a long ball through, and that team would see him and see how fast he was and be like, oh, okay, we can't leave him alone. We've got to stick somebody on him. We've got to make sure he's marked. And then even if we don't ever play that long ball again, because they've seen it happen, they're now terrified of it happening again. So it just means that maybe there's eyes on him that aren't on somebody else. And so I think he won't, I mean, obviously he's not going to be static. He's not going to be just standing between the two center backs waiting. But
what I'm saying is I don't know about his movement, if he's got that Thomas Müller thing to find the pockets of space. There's not 50 yards to run into.
I don't know if he has to. I don't know, because I think he can be just the threat in behind who kind of pins that back line back and allows other players, like maybe Thomas Müller, to do Thomas Müller things. If you don't mind, since you've led into it, I just want to say, because we haven't talked about this in a very long time, my other prediction is that we're both going to be very, very excited when we get our first Müller hello. And for people who were with us in the 2014 World Cup, it has continued since then. But if you're new or if you've forgotten, I think it's the opposite of the Irish goodbye is the Müller hello. Or if Christian Press does it, it's the Press Guten Tag. But it's Thomas Müller's strange ability to just pop up in places that he has no business being in, or you kind of didn't see how he got there.
That's the thing,
he's
right?
There,
you didn't see him appear.
Yeah, he's there to score or assist or trigger some sort of attacking play that leads to a goal. I think he did it against the United States in the World Cup in 2014. He just popped up in the corner of the 18 and had a one-time shot, but he had maybe seconds before that been on the other side of the 18. So he just has a way to disappear and reappear at a moment's notice.
Is it possible that there's less of that at this World Cup?
That he's Nightcrawler, yes, it is.
That's brilliant. Is it possible there's less of that at this World Cup because he's playing right wing? Because at 2014, there was a lot of him playing centrally, and maybe he just had more scope to wonder wherever he saw that the space, because the key to it is he sees where the space will open up before it's there, so he's ready to step into it when he, you know what I mean, he's reading the movements almost. I wonder if from the right wing it's harder to do that because you've only got half the field to work with, or does he end up just wandering all over the field anyway because Germany have so much of the ball?
That one.
It's that one,
and I think also because
I don't even need you. I can just talk. I can talk my way through all the scenarios.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just be quiet. But I also think because whomever starts on the opposite side, be it Julian Draxler or Marco Reus, maybe even Julian Brandt, I think those players will be equally skilled and drilled at switching sides. So if you do have possession 30 yards from goal and you're moving it around, I wouldn't be surprised if Thomas Müller gets the ball on the right, passes it to somebody, and then 5 seconds later he receives it on the left. And then like Julian Brandt is on the other side.
So the thing is, the way I think of Thomas Müller as well, we love the Müller hello. I love that you predicted that. I actually thought about it.
I didn't even predict
think you'd let me get away
because it wouldn't be fair. I just said my prediction was that we'll be very, very happy because we haven't seen it in so long, like in an identifiable way. That to then be like, oh, there it is. I imagine tweets.
So Müller on the right, he's very much not a traditional winger, but he is very, very capable of just having a little weird like Cruyff turn or move and then putting a really nice cross in. I've seen him do that multiple times, and people don't appreciate it maybe as much because he does all that other stuff, that he can just serve some balls in from the right.
He can, and it makes me wonder.
It's a waste of his talents maybe, but he's certainly doing it.
I mean, I wonder, like, it makes me wonder almost if Jogi Löw is some sort of Jedi. That, like, in FIFA, if you switch a player, like, if you put a center forward at right wing, like, they'll go from a 92 to an 81 or something like that because that's not their normal position. And I just wonder if Jogi Löw has the ability to just say, like, no, he stays at 92. And they're like, okay, yeah, he's in the 92, why not? Yeah.
Waves his hand at the screen.
It's just like, you have a center back playing it forward, yeah, he'll be good. Yeah, okay, he's fine, 95 up top, why not?
These are the defenders.
You are Jogi. Yeah, exactly.
Yoda Love?
Yeah, sure.
There we go. We got it. One man. So on the other side, I think there's a more traditional winger type thing going on with maybe Julian Brandt or
Draxler.
Marco Reus is a bit more less wingery and more comes interior. Draxler, I think Draxler starts. He seems to be the senior of the three.
I think it's between Draxler and Reus.
Yeah,
I give the edge to Draxler right now, but we shall see.
Did you hear the Reus story? I think I heard a commentator talking about this. I didn't realise it.
Did it end in somebody getting injured? Because that's usually his story.
Well, that is the story. So 2016, he got injured in the final warm-up game before they named the roster and he boarded the plane to wherever Euro 2016 was. France, thank you. 2014, same thing happened for the World Cup. So it's a small blessing
that Marco Reus has actually made the final 23, and I assume is in Russia by now.
I think whenever either when they announced the provisional roster or when they announced they were going to announce the provisional roster and he was in there with consideration, I saw somebody joke like, let's make sure we wrap him in bubble wrap. And then I saw somebody else comment, which I very much appreciated, but we got to make sure he's like soft already, so let's put some gauze around him and then we'll wrap him in bubble wrap. Like, we really have to make sure he doesn't get hurt.
I mean, I nearly predicted he would get injured in the tournament.
That's not funny.
It just felt mean.
Don't do that.
Yeah, so I don't want that to happen to Marco Reus. You know who we haven't mentioned?
Mesut Özil?
Yes, maybe the most important part of all of this.
Yeah.
The creative spark, the guy who will come up with the unexpected pass, the guy that will take most of the set pieces. I think he takes most of the corner kicks and lands them on people's heads. I think Mesut Özil, I mean, this is the story of his whole career, right? A lot of people underappreciate him because it looks like he's not doing anything, but he's actually doing a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for Germany, he will be doing a lot. I have him as like kind of the number 10 spot if you're going 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, thereabouts. Deputizing for him would be Leon Goretzka.
Yeah.
But I think, it's going to be Mesut Ozil's tournament to start. And maybe this is where some people rediscover how good he is. I mean that sincerely. Like, I know everybody knows he is good, but I think you're absolutely right that the way the season went for Arsenal, I think he got a lot of stick, a lot of it justifiable, but some of it not. And maybe it's a good reminder that, like, oh no, he is a world-class soccer player, and he is very fun to watch.
And you especially when Germany is sort of dominating a game, you do get to see him take lots of clever little touches and make it that much harder to get the ball back and also harder to defend against. He's the one that finds the... If Müller identifies the pocket of space, Ozil puts the ball into it for him to run onto.
Yep.
Fair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, I've also got a picture in my head of, this is almost a prediction, I guess, of a sort of German breakaway or counter-press and breakaway and a nice Ozil, clever, chipped, bending ball for Timo Werner to run onto.
I like all those things.
That's a good weapon in Ozil's arsenal. That wasn't an intended pun. To fire at Timo Werner.
I like that you got mad at yourself there briefly. So I've given you my predictions relating to the Müller hello and Manuel Neuer doing Manuel Neuer things. Daryl, what do you have as your predictions?
I got mine in early. There's going to be a Manuel Neuer disaster, and both Boateng and Hummels will get themselves an assist.
All right, so we've got those down. Should we talk about some youngsters for a second? Or some players who might get a move?
My guess is Julian Brandt.
Okay.
So he's at Bayer Leverkusen. They did not make the Champions League, semi-famously. They didn't quite put enough goals away to make it on the final day. I think Julian Brandt's going to impress some people. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's dribbly, he's clever. He's very good at doing that German thing of interchanging positions across the front three. He may not start, he'll definitely appear, and I think he'll catch the eye. And he may catch the eye in a way that Bayer Leverkusen can't hold on to him. It all depends how the tournament goes, right?
I mean, the face I'm making is because I absolutely agree. I have the exact same notes for him, and since you've already said that, I'll just add I have roughly the similar notes for Timo Werner. He's another one who team missed the Champions League, had a very solid season.
I forgot about that.
He scored 21 goals in all competitions in both of the last 2 seasons, so 42 goals in 2 seasons, a decent return in the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
And then again, he's very young. He's a 22-year-old striker who's playing for a high-level team, but not like the highest level in Germany, again, because they missed the Champions League. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a move, maybe not in Germany, but to a larger club elsewhere. Wouldn't surprise me at all.
There we go. Okay, any reason why US fans should support Germany at the World Cup?
And Klinsmann laid the groundwork, Daryl. That's why. He didn't really. Please, don't tweet at me. Send your emails to Daryl at TotalSoccerShow.com.
He sort of did lay the groundwork in 2006, and Yogi Löw really took it a lot farther.
Because everybody was like, do you see how bad it could be? Stick with this guy.
The only reason I would say is maybe if you just enjoy a dynasty or a dynasty. I know that seems to be a thing in the US that everyone wants to see a team be some sort of dynasty. I think 2 World Cups in a row for Germany would definitely seal that deal.
Here's some nonsense speculation for you.
Yeah.
I'll add this. Say you fancy a drink during the World Cup. I feel like most of like the famed German beers tend to be like lager-y sort of things, which maybe are lower alcohol, so you can like drink a bunch of German beer and still be like relatively sober while watching the game.
Oh, because some people will be doing that thing of drinking a beer while they watch a specific team. We won't, because we have to record and it would get messy.
Yeah, speak for yourself.
but if you're gonna do that, then Germany's a good country to go with.
I think I might.
Maybe Belgium's better.
I might be drinking and maybe crying when Panama's playing. Just gonna say that. No promises, but promises.
Oh.
But you can drink drink some sort of German lager, and then root for the team that way.
Kolsch? Is that a German beer?
I think that's a Kolsch.
I don't know my beer that well. All right, so Mexico, Sweden,
Budweiser,
and Korea still to go.
Yeah.
Anything else on Germany before we move on? Last call for Germany.
I think they're going to be good, Daryl. And I think we've talked about 19 of the 23 players on the squad. Yeah, so I think we're good. Maybe even 20.
That's a measure of their talent, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, today's show is sponsored by Squarespace. They're back. Squarespace are back as Total Soccer Show sponsors. A lot of people used our Squarespace code, started a website. Squarespace were very happy with how the ad performed. I say that just to encourage people, to let you know that it is very easy and very possible to start a website using Squarespace. The sign up is easy. The process of creating the website is easy because you can just drag and drop the blocks within the template. You can get it going really fast.
Yes.
If you were going to start a website, Taylor, what would you make it all about?
Well, maybe not me necessarily, but we've talked a lot in our preview shows about players who could be on the move or who want to move. There's some that we've already talked about. Some we'll talk about on the show, or at least I will, who are very much set on getting a transfer to another team. Maybe you go the Michael Owen route. You create a website. You put your highlights up there. You put some personal information about yourself. You just send that out to the world. See what's up.
So you think that maybe Julian Brandt should be posting World Cup highlights?
Yeah.
Sign JulianBrandt.com.
Start your own professional elite soccer player LinkedIn. Why not? World Cup LinkedIn. Boom. Done.
Okay, so if you're not a professional World Cup
That seems
player,
like a terrible pitch that's been made.
Yes.
Athlete LinkedIn.
If you're not a professional World Cup player, but you're watching and you sort of want to get involved in the content game, a good way, I mean, I know this from editing some sites, a good way to build a portfolio, instead of making desperate pitches all over the place, if you start your own website and fill it with quality content, you then have a portfolio that you can show to someone. So if you want to start writing about the World Cup, that would be a way to do it.
Beautiful. And if you're interested in any of those, then you can go to squarespace.com for a free trial. When you're ready to launch, use the offer code TSS to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
And the free trial really is free.
Yep.
It's a genuine free trial where you don't have to put credit card information in or anything. You can start building the site, see if you like what you've built. When you decide you like it, that's when you sign up and pay for the site. And as Taylor said, TSS for 10% off the launch price.
Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring today's show and for not making people put in their credit card information for a free trial. Makes me like them all the more.
Up next, it's Mexico.
Oh, boy.
It's Mexico.
Oh, boy.
There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
Yes, Mexico El Tri is the nickname. The nickname I'm giving them, Spinal Tap.
Spinal Tap? Like the band or like the medical procedure?
Like the band. You remember Spinal Tap, yes?
I love Spinal Tap.
So every time you think you've got their style locked down, they change it on you. So they go from folk to rock. They go from rock to metal. Then there's a little bit of like hippie rock thrown in there. That's Mexico. Every time you think you've got them figured out, they change it on you.
Also, they turn the number of players all the way up to 11.
Oh, good job. I didn't think of that one. The new drummer every few days, squad rotation. They're going to change it around. Somebody might start, but then they're gone.
They did that with goalkeepers at Copa America Centenario.
They started a different one in every group stage game. I forgot about that until I heard your excellent interview with Cesar today.
Yes.
Well done there. And then they have... This one might be a little bit deep. They have a no-nonsense manager trying to juggle media criticism and intense pressure from higher-ups, which I feel like is pretty accurate.
This might be my favourite nickname that we've done so far.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah, Spinal Tap.
Yes.
Love it. All right,
and if anybody gets caught going through an airport x-ray, then it's really hit home.
All right, mine's not as good, but I'm contractually obligated to share it anyway. I feel like I'm following John Mulaney and I've got to do stand-up.
I think usually you've beat me on the nicknames. Yours have been more clever.
I'll take the bigger victory then.
Okay.
But my El
you won the war.
My El Tri nickname is the Centripetal Force.
The centripetal?
Yeah, do you know what that is?
I know it's centrifugal.
So centripetal force is when something rotates and creates gravity to keep something in place, keep stability in the middle.
Okay, gotcha.
I think you can see where I'm going with this.
Maybe.
So Osorio gets criticised for his rotation policy, but I think the rotation is actually the key to keeping everything together.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, that's my theory of Mexico. Is that the rotation?
Now that you've explained it, I understand it.
And it's extra funny. As Cesar mentioned in the interview which published yesterday, by the time you hear this, Osorio is rotating less aggressively than in the past.
So not changing goalkeepers?
Yeah, not changing goalkeepers between games, at least not recently. Maybe he does at the World Cup, but maybe not. The thing that has me really convinced about this is the chapter in Grant Wall's book, Masters of Modern Soccer,
where it's Juan Carlos Osorio and Chicharito are both talking. And Chicharito very earnestly talks about how the players buy into the rotation system. And I think it might be one of those things that looks weird from the outside, and everybody, the media might complain about it, fans might complain about it. But if all the players buy in to the idea that you're not going to start every game and things might be different each game, and they trust Osorio to get the right tactics for each game, that's a good way to go through a World Cup when you're getting lots of games in quick succession.
Yeah, I agree.
If he gets it right, it's perfect for a World Cup.
It's similar to what I was saying with Germany and Brazil. It's like if everybody knows what is going to happen or how they're going to factor in. If you're a big, tall striker and you know I'm only going in if we need to dominate a defense, then you're not frustrated.
Why don't you just call Raul Jimenez by his name?
Fair enough. If you're Raul Jimenez, you're not going to be frustrated when he opts for the more mobile one against the slower center back. Like if you know what the expectations are, if you set those rules, then people will operate within them. But if you're just like, I don't know, we'll figure it out on the day, they're going to be a little bit more unruly and a little bit more confused.
And the reverse example is Chicharito. I mean, he's Mexico's most famous goal scorer, maybe after Hugo Sanchez, right? So, but there's a chance that he could get either shifted out to the left wing or maybe dropped altogether if Osorio decides this is a game that needs a big target man, it needs Raul Jimenez, Chicharito's not quite suited to this. It sounds like Chicharito buys into it, and they all buy into it. If there's no bitterness around the rotation, I don't see it being a problem.
If there's no bitterness from the team?
From the players, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
If anything, they just get more rested.
I still don't fully understand, while we're on the subject of Juan Carlos Osorio, I still don't get the animosity towards him. I really don't. Yeah. I mean, I get it because he's not. I understand from the perspective of when he's linked with the U.S. national team job, I'm not as excited about it. I think I'm coming around to it, but it doesn't fill me with the level of enthusiasm that some of the other names do. And I wonder if it's just that has bled into the way the fans feel about him.
Here's one possible theory, and I think I listened to the Mexican soccer show to do some research for this. One of the things all those guys were talking about is that, and I agree with this based on watching some games, Mexico's style of play is quite patient. They're not in a rush to get it forward, and that sometimes there are games that maybe you'd think they would blow the opposition out of the water, where they just win 1-0, and it's not all that impressive. And I think some fans may be just frustrated that Mexico aren't sort of all singing, all dancing, come see the fireworks type team. It's a little more methodical, which is what Osorio is, right? He's methodical. So maybe it's just that some fans want the fireworks.
I guess so, but those fireworks then lead to larger fireworks when that manager is fired.
Yes.
So that's the thing I don't quite get is it seems like he has brought stability and organization and clear game plans to this team, and that doesn't seem like
by staying in the job for a few years, if nothing else, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Remember when they were changing coaches every 6 months, and it was Sven and it was Hugo Sanchez, not in that order, reverse order, and it kept changing and changing and changing. Osorio has brought stability just by staying in the job.
And apparently that's not good enough. I don't really get it. But I do understand that he's got some difficult issues to deal with because there are some question marks about this team.
There certainly are. All right, shall we get into them?
Sure.
There are many, many questions. Well, they're not question marks in terms of weaknesses, I would necessarily say. They're more to me question marks in terms of who's he going to start against Germany? Because that's the first game. So, Taylor, who's he going to start against Germany?
I mean, that's the question. So you and Cesar had a conversation about this. Cesar obviously knows far more than I do when it comes to the Mexican national team, or Spinal Tap, if you will. But I think I disagree with him a little bit because I think he had the idea that Diego Reyes was going to start as a holding midfielder, as that kind of number 6. I think that was the plan until Nestor Araujo went down. Again, I apologize for pronunciation. And I think he was kind of head and shoulders outside of Diego Reyes the best other center back option Mexico had that didn't require a lot of formation changing and player shifting.
Okay, where are we going with this?
That I think there's a chance Rafa Marquez starts against Germany, and that is actually my prediction, that Rafa Marquez starts at least one game at this World Cup, and it might be against Germany.
Isn't it a big ask for a 39-year-old centre back who's out of form?
Yes. Yeah. No argument there.
So can you tie this together though? Why does the Araujo injury and Reyes moving around mean that Rafa Marquez starts?
Sure. So, I mean, your other options then when you're looking at center backs, Hugo Ayala, 31-year-old Tigres center back. He could be there, but there's some questions about his quality, his level of play.
Yeah, it says I was not too impressed with him.
So then maybe it's you move Carlos Salcedo over to start at center back. I have him starting as right back, so then if you do that, you've got maybe Edson Alvarez starting at right back, maybe you have to move Miguel Layún, but this is my point, is that to make one change, you have to change a whole bunch of other things. Whereas I feel like you put Diego Reyes back in the center back spot where he is comfortable playing, and you put Rafa Marquez in front, and his job is to just shield that back line. I think it makes the most sense in terms of not having to ruffle as many feathers.
Interesting. So you are predicting a Hector Moreno, because he's the very good, I think, left-footed centre-back who can bring the ball out, and Diego Reyes as the two centre-backs, and then Rafa Marquez as one of the defensive midfielders in front of them.
It's possible.
To start against Germany.
I think he'll start a game in this group stage. I think it will be Germany. I could be totally wrong. The other two reasons...
Mesut Özil might run rings around him.
I mean, that's fine, but if he stays central...
might knock him over.
There's also that. But the other two reasons I have for this is, number one, that if you keep Diego Reyes at holding midfield, I guess that works. But you probably want someone to pair with him. And I don't think that Guardado or Herrera is going to be that good as like a number 6, number 8 sort of player.
I think so. I'm a big fan of Hector Herrera. He was my man crush of 2014. I really think he can do it all. I think he can be a combative, sort of deeper player who can then break when Mexico need to break, or he can start farther forward and be involved in the attack. I really think Hector Herrera can do it all.
So then would you, if you were Juan Carlos Osorio, would you go Diego Reyes and Herrera as kind of like a 4-2-3-1?
Yes, okay. I think I might. I think that could make sense.
And
personally, I would have taken Jonathan Gonzalez and started him, but that's a very selfish reason.
That's fair. But I think the final thing, and I think that's a fair thing to do. I think he may very well do that, and he may very well keep Diego Reyes and put somebody else at center back. The only other thing that makes me lean towards Rafa Marquez is that they did not bring Jesus Molina, 30-year-old defensive midfielder from Monterrey, dropped from the squad. And I just look at that and think he doesn't really have any other strong defensive midfielders. He has Diego Reyes, who's a center back, and he has Rafa Marquez, who's listed as a defender on this roster. And it just makes me feel like there has to be a plan to counteract the fact that he doesn't have any natural defensive midfielders.
This all comes down to maybe Osorio has more faith in Hugo Ayala as a centre-back than anybody else does.
That is a distinct possibility.
He trusts Ayala.
And again, this is the majesty of Juan Carlos Osorio.
I was just going to say that having Osorio as a coach might be a preview if he does become US coach. It is an endless guessing game about what he's going to do, because there is no, here's our strongest 11, we'll send them out to play you, right? It is more, here's the 11 I think fits for this game. And that's why maybe Rafa Marquez can't start a bunch of games at World Cup. He won't make it. But maybe he could be, we need him for that Germany game. He's there for that.
Yes, I agree. Okay. And I think, I know we got to move on because there's lots of other stuff to talk about with Mexico. But I think this is why I have slowly come around to Juan Carlos Osorio as a manager, is because, yes, there's lots of rotation, and yes, we're kind of always like, it could be this, or it might be that, or it could be this, but so too is the opponent. They're trying to figure out what they're going to do, and you kind of have to guess at a certain point. And you go back to the Copa America Centenario, and everybody remembers the 7-0 loss, maybe 7-1, I forget.
7-0 to
Chile. Thank you. But what I remember from that tournament is, do you remember watching the game when he had a game plan within the first minute that they booted the ball long, and then the person who kicked it long followed that ball and was suddenly a number 10, but they started as a center, and he changed everything inside of a minute, and that was all by design.
That was Uruguay.
Okay,
that was Uruguay, and they won that game.
Yeah, and so I just remember those moments of wow, he has planned it out that much.
So part of that Grant Wallbook interview with Osorio, he references the Chile game, which I think is really a touchstone for Osorio's Mexico career. And one thing he said was, can you imagine...
you said that on the Cesar interview, right? That it's the thing that you can go back to if you hate Juan Carlos Osorio?
Yes, right. So imagine Jurgen Klinsmann saying this. Juan Carlos Osorio says, that's my fault, I froze in that game. And by freeze, he sort of explains, I'm paraphrasing this, so I don't have the book in front of me, he sort of explains that I had a plan, and I saw the plan not quite working. We were 2-0 down, 3-0 down. And I really just thought, this plan's going to work eventually. Because he didn't expect it to keep not working and get to 7-0. And he said, essentially, I didn't have a plan B. And he says, since then, I've gone away and I've thought about things and I've worked on, one, mentally reinforcing the players. He's brought in a sports psychologist to sort of really reinforce any sort of mental aspects that need reinforcing for the players. But he said, I also go into every game with a plan A, a plan B, and maybe even a plan C. So you may see Osorio be able to react to his original, because he plans this out in minute detail, and then what's the thing?
God laughs when man makes plans. When that starts going wrong, he didn't really have all right, we'll do this instead.
Yeah.
Now he may do. Now he may do.
How many of the plans do you think are rotating the goalkeepers?
Hopefully zero. Hopefully zero.
All right. So we've talked a lot about Rafa Marquez and Diego Reyes. Who else would you like to talk about, Daryl?
I mean, we should go farther forward, right? It's where all the action is for Mexico. It's where all the talent is. This roster is top heavy with attackers.
Yeah.
It is, right? Lots and lots of attackers and lots of players worth getting excited about.
The way I have it broken down, I'm not sure they do because I move Rafa Marquez into midfield. I have 7 attackers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I have 7 attackers for roughly 3 spots.
Yes, that is what it is.
Yeah.
Here's what I see.
And to clarify, when I say attackers, I don't include Guardado and Herrera. I have them very much as midfielders. So if you change it to a 4-2-3-1, then maybe it makes more sense to have one of the attackers there. But otherwise, you've got 7 people for 3 spots.
Are you including Marco Fabian in your attackers?
I am not.
Yeah, I mean, he's basically an attacking midfielder.
Yep.
So there's
I'm not including either of the Dos Santos brothers either.
Oh, Gio Dos Santos is definitely an attacker.
Then we'll make it 8.
Okay, here's what I see. Chicharito in the box. Maybe to the left is Chucky Lozano.
Yep.
If you are newish to soccer or haven't been paying attention to Mexico until right now, even though Chicharito is the most famous name, he's the guy that will be constantly moving in the box, constantly looking for opportunities, always on his toes, ready to pounce. The most exciting player to watch because he's going to get the ball and run at defenses is Chucky Lozano.
And I have, as my other prediction, Chucky Lozano versus Joshua Kimmich will be one of the most fascinating duels in the World Cup.
It will be magical.
Yep.
It will be magical. So Lozano's on the left with his right foot dribbling at Joshua Kimmich.
Who might be far forward and might have to track back to get Chucky. Chucky might keep Kimmich pinned back a little bit. Kimmich might keep Chucky Lozano pinned back a little bit. It's going to be a very interesting back and forth in how they adjust to each other.
Oh, I love it.
Yep.
I love it. On the right, I'm looking at maybe Carlos Vela. This is a thing I hit on with Cesar, so I'm kind of leaning on my own interview here. But Vela's left-footed on the right, Lozano's right-footed on the left, and that sort of makes sense with the way Mexico play with Chicharito. Is they don't necessarily feed crosses into him; they more try to approach the box from an angle. And then again in the Grant Wild book, there's diagrams of what Osorio wants the attack to do. One of them is Vela dribbles in from the right. Chicharito makes a sort of a crossing run to go across the front of him to be ready to be slipped in for a through ball. He calls them synchronizations. These are essentially like patterns of play that he has Mexico working on. And there are like 3 or 4 listed in the book. There are probably many, many more than that. So just think of the preparation that's gone into Mexico's front 3, having a whole combination, and they're almost calling audibles as they go, running set plays.
It's the thing, like when we talked about Argentina, it was a little bit difficult to discuss Argentina when we did our preview because, again, there's so many things that they can do, and he could go here and that guy could go there. And I found it sort of confusing. It gave me a headache to try to figure out exactly what Argentina were going to do. And it's almost like with Mexico, I'm sort of ready for it to be all over the place, and all over the place in a good way. Like it could be that, or it could be this, or it could be that. And somehow that makes it more like exciting than confusing for me. Because I'm absolutely with you. Your point about Carlos Vela makes sense. Also wouldn't be surprised if it's Tecatito starting on the right.
It could be all kinds of people.
Because Tecatito has wheels.
He does have wheels.
We're going to hit the H on it.
And if you're looking for his name on the roster, his name is
Jesus Corona.
Jesus Corona, but he goes by Tecatito for Liga MX team sponsorship reasons.
Correct.
That happened at the time, which is brilliant. So just so you know, Tecatito is Jesus Corona. Yeah, so lots of attacking options. Everybody knows the plan. There are lots of set plays. In the end, though, I predict a goal will come, a Chicharito rebound off a long shot. So someone like Guardado loves a long shot, right? Hector Herrera loves a long shot. Chicharito, if it's saved by the keeper, Chicharito is the guy that is ready to pounce on his toes, reading where that's going. I think he'll get a goal from a rebound from a long shot. Am I explaining that correctly?
You are. No, the face I'm making is I just like all of the predictions, or all of that prediction, because he's also one who really, like, when he moved from Chivas to Manchester United, he had that breakout season, then kind of fizzled. Didn't have a very great time at Madrid, now at West Ham, but still hasn't gone that well. And it's easy then when a player has that sort of kind of not great, but not necessarily bad run that you can just sort of be like, they're fine. And you do forget all of the things that Chicharito brings. He's got the crazy vertical, but he's got that predatory poacher's instinct. And you're absolutely right that he is so good at peeling off of the last defender. And the key point here is as the shot is taken, so that you watch the replay and you're like, oh, he has to, or before you watch the replay, you're like, he has to be offside. He's 8 yards offside. And you watch it and no, he timed that run that perfectly.
Yep.
And that is something that he does very well. Thank you for that prediction.
He's a hunter that never sleeps, never stops moving. It's
mine now.
I like it. That's mine now.
You got any more predictions for me?
No, just this two for me.
Okay, I'm also going to predict that, according to Osorio's plan B, plan C type thing, if things don't go to plan, then they will do the thing we mentioned at the top of the show where maybe Jimenez or maybe Oribe Peralta comes in to be more of a target man. So I predict a goal after the 80th minute for either Raul Jimenez or Oribe Peralta. If there's a game where Mexico have been too patient, waited too long, they'll start chucking balls into the box. Maybe Chucky will chuck balls into the box and Raul Jimenez will get his head on it post 80th minute.
All right.
Yeah.
What about in terms of youngsters to watch or players who could get a move, Daryl?
I think weirdly it's Chucky Lozano.
It is. It 100% is.
He seems really happy at PSV. I got to imagine that he's an ambitious young man who's already thinking, all right, I own Eredivisie. Maybe the next move is the Bundesliga or Spain or England.
I think that is 100%. I agree. Yeah, 22-year-old left winger at PSV, 17 goals, 8 assists in 29 games. Decent for your first season in the Netherlands. So that wouldn't surprise me.
In italics.
Yes. And then the other one that maybe not necessarily like a young player, but it's Diego Reyes, 25-year-old center back, defensive midfielder for FC Porto. He only had 9 starts in the Portuguese Premier League with a very limited second half to the season for a player of his caliber. That makes me wonder if maybe he just lost faith or the manager lost faith a little bit or something just didn't quite work. I didn't see any prolonged injuries. I might have missed those, but I didn't see those in the injury status report. So it makes me wonder if maybe he's a player who could have a strong World Cup. Maybe they get the word that I'm forgetting, the phrase that I'm forgetting when they win their 5th game.
Quarterfinal.
Sure. Yes. Maybe he's instrumental in that, in marshalling the defense or the defensive midfield, one or the other.
Is it Quinto Partido? Quinto Partido.
Yeah,
5th game. 5th game. So weirdly, I'm assuming most people listening to this will have heard the Cesar interview. If you haven't, a big deal for Mexico, for the media, for the fans, is since 1990. They didn't make it in 1990.
Yep.
They have gone to the
modern era.
In the modern era, they have gone round of 16, never to the quarterfinal. So they always go round of 16, never to the quarterfinal. Including 2002, the US beat them in the round of 16.
Did that happen?
That did happen.
Should we talk about it a little bit?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe now is not the time.
What was the score in that game, Daryl?
2-0.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So
it's all I have now. It's all I have now. It's all I have now.
Hold on to it.
Yeah.
So the big thing for Mexico to definitely have a successful World Cup will be to make the quarterfinals because that will be a sign of progress.
Yeah. So I think if Diego Reyes is like marshalling that defense, maybe some clubs look at him and think, yeah, okay, you broke some ground, you've had experiences, we'll get you in.
I'm glad you mentioned the injuries though, because not just Araujo.
Yeah.
So I'm going back a bit here, but Diego Reyes is coming back from injury. Seems like it's sort of in a Neymar way, right? He just got fit maybe a few days ago, so theoretically ready for the World Cup.
I actually didn't know that. Is that true?
Okay, yeah. So Reyes is just getting fit in time.
Wait, was there a long-term injury then for him? Do you know?
I don't know.
Because again, I didn't see that, but that would explain why he played so few games for Porto.
This shows a well-researched.
Yeah.
That's a thing we don't have.
There we go. All right.
Andres Guardado was injured for a bit. He recently came back, and a lot of people, I think Cesar talked about, maybe they're worried, will he start against Denmark in the next friendly to see if he's ready to go, because he's so important, right? He's central to the team. So they do have those 2 injury worries going into the first game.
Andres Guardado cannot be hurt by conventional weapons, though, so he'll be fine. He'll be fine. I just think of him as like
by any man of woman born.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember him obviously for Mexico, but also at club level. He's a player who, even when I think he's shut down, he finds a way. He's just got that wriggly ability that makes him very fun to watch.
Wriggly Guardado.
Even if he's shorn of his curly locks.
All right, so we asked this for every team. Why should US fans support Mexico at the World Cup?
Okay. This might be a little bit ranty, so I apologize. I think they should if they want to, and they shouldn't if they don't want to.
There you go. That's the perfect answer. That is the 100%.
Okay, then I won't rant. I'm kind of annoyed by the marketing approach of like I saw it at the waiting room today. The America's, and then in very small letters, other team, and it feels like that is an intentional tactic that's being employed to try to get people to think, yeah, okay, that's my team, and it becomes this weird like socialization thing of like, I've been told it's okay, so I guess they're my team now. And in reality, it's like, if you want to root for Mexico, root for Mexico.
Yeah.
But if you have strong, whatever,
if you
then
really buy into the US-Mexico rivalry,
exactly, then don't. And I don't think it needs to be much more than that, in my opinion. That said, I think they're the team number 3 that I'll be rooting for in this tournament.
All right. I would say, without getting too deep into politics, because we always get emails when we get too deep into politics, if you're not a fan of the current administration and some of their immigration policies, maybe that would be a reason to support Mexico
or Panama
in
or
opposition.
Costa Rica.
Yeah, that's true.
Or anyone from South America.
The other reason is,
or anyone from the world.
Right. The other, you're getting emails now. The other reason is Juan Carlos Osorio. There's a chance that he is the next US men's national team head coach. Right? He's probably leaving Mexico after the World Cup, and then he's going somewhere else. It could be Colombia, it could be the US, could be neither. But you could be looking at the future US men's national team head coach. It would be better to have a successful coach join the US. It would make the program look better.
Yep.
Yeah.
And final thing I would say, we did have a person ask, because you and I talked about how no African team has ever made the semifinal and how maybe that could change in this tournament. Somebody asked, like, well, why isn't there that same criticism of CONCACAF? And my answer to that was basically that CONCACAF has fewer teams qualify and has fewer teams of that quality consistently qualify.
Because we're less good, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not saying they're making the semifinals, don't get me wrong, but maybe. And I mean, that's a thing that
Mexico could go deep. If it all clicks, Mexico deep.
And we get those questions from people being like, is CONCACAF even good? Our friend Pav, whom we both love, but if I make fun of Greece, his response is like, gee, I wonder if we could handle the tricky qualifying competition that is CONCACAF. Like, it would be nice for a team to go far.
No CONCACAF team has ever lost a European Championship game.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
There we go.
Unbeaten in the Euros.
Making sure nobody was invited when they needed to make up numbers. Now we're good. Okay, cool.
But yeah, you're right. For CONCACAF pride, it would be good to get a team go past the quarters. Mexico's probably our best hope. I haven't done all the Panama research yet, but Mexico's our best hope.
I've seen their scores.
All right, Taylor. We have, 2 more teams.
Did you give us a description for Juan Carlos Osorio?
I did not. It's in my notes here somewhere. He looks like the lead actor in a quirky French family comedy.
They're getting better. They really are.
Were they bad before?
They were fine.
I thought they started well A and B, and they maybe dipped C and D.
They started slightly dad joke, which I'm also a fan of.
It's on brand.
It's on brand. It's on brand.
Sweden and Korea still to come. But today's show is sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. Roughneck Scarves are the official scarf providers for US Soccer, Major League Soccer, NCAA, and United Soccer Leagues. I like to call them by the full name.
I like it. They also have many scarves for many of the national teams that are represented in the World Cup and not represented in the World Cup. If you want to be contrarian and pick somebody who's not going to be there, you could probably do that. And then lots of the teams that are there, I can't say all of them because I have not checked all 32, but I'm guessing they've got most of them covered.
I'll also say this about Roughneck Scarves. They are, I'm confident to say right now, our longest running continuous sponsor. Mm-hmm. Yeah?
Can I also say this about Roughneck Scarves?
Yeah.
They make scarves.
They do make scarves. They also make custom scarves.
They sure do. So we asked on Twitter, if you were to design a custom Roughneck scarf to represent in Group F, what would you put on it?
Okay, the answers we got, the answers we chose.
You haven't read these, have you?
I haven't read these. These are new to me. I normally compile them, right? So this is new. Alex says that his scarf to represent Group F would have not Mario Götze, Jonathan Gonzalez, or Zlatan. So just a picture of Son Heung-min, I guess. STJ 6579. A smorgasbord of schnitzel, tacos, and kimchi in that order. I guess Sweden didn't make it in. That's harsh. That's harsh on Swedish cuisine.
There were a lot of food ones.
Clearly meatballs.
I think that was in there too. Yeah? I think a couple others had like meatballs on pasta and things like that.
There we go. Crisco Styles says his scarf would have Yogi Löw looking dapper as ever on the top of a pedestal, with Mexico, Sweden, and Korea frantically fighting for the second spot on said pedestal, and the other side would just have an F, I guess.
Group F. Francisco Zenteno, it would simply say Fuera Osorio.
So that's been talked about at length today already, right? Mm-hmm. Fuera Osorio.
Should it be like Fuera Osorio with the Mexican colors and you flip it around and in like red, white, and blue it says Higher Osorio?
Yes.
I'm not saying I embrace that. I'm just saying that would be a good scarf.
Nicholas, we should have done that last year. Nicholas Bolton says, on one side, Juan Carlos Osorio, Yana Anderson, and Shin Tae-young shrugging their shoulders, and on the other, Yogi Löw holding a trophy and the words, football is a simple game.
I like it.
It is when you've got German talent to work with.
I like that statement, too. I also like the fact that if you wanted to order a scarf of your own, you can get 20% off using the promo code Total Soccer Show.
You certainly can. Worth noting that you cannot get the discount on the custom scarves because custom scarves are already priced very favourably. The 20% off is for any scarf you find already in the store at roughneckscarves.com. I would recommend a certain blue and black one that says Total Soccer Show on it.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah. Roughneck Scarves, thank you for sponsoring today's show.
Agreeance. That leads us into Sweden, Daryl Grove. The Blaugult is how I'm going to pronounce that one. Blaugult. The blue-yellow.
Is it blue-gold or blue-yellow?
It's one or the other. I've seen it both. Blue-gold, blue-yellow.
What should they be called? What should Sweden be called?
The Ewings.
The Ewings. Oh, we've gone similar routes.
Have
we? The Ewings.
Yeah. Comes from Bill Simmons, the Ewing theory.
I guess he'll be seeing us in court.
Yeah, sure, why not? I'm giving him the credit here. It's basically the idea, if you don't know it, that a star player gets the attention but maybe doesn't necessarily win. That star player leaves and everyone writes that team off. They then go on to have success.
And that's why Patrick Ewing was not selected for the Swedish national team for the World Cup.
Exactly. That's it right there. That's the reason. But yeah, it's Patrick Ewing with the Knicks in 1999. He got injured. Everybody wrote them off. They went on to win 3 games straight and win their playoff series. And I think that's kind of Sweden here with Zlatan. That I think a lot of people, if you say Swedish national team, the question you'll get is like, is Zlatan there? Is he going to be there? What's the deal? And you say no Zlatan, I think people tune out a little bit. And I don't think they should.
So since we're talking about it, Zlatan, retired from international football after Euro 2016?
Yep, but then his marketing team said he didn't.
And then they went and qualified for the World Cup without him. Thank you very much.
Yep.
And then, I'll be honest, I half ignored the story deliberately because I didn't want to get dragged into it. But my 50,000 feet takeaway, I'm hoping you know more than me, is that Zlatan essentially said, hey, if they call me, maybe I'm interested. And Janne Andersson, the Swedish coach, kind of said, hey, if he wants to make his case why, then maybe I'll talk, but I'm not going to try and persuade him necessarily.
I think that was part of it, but I also genuinely believe that it was also a marketing thing as well, where it said like he had a quote that was like, you can't have the World Cup without Zlatan, which first of all, they've done it several times. But also, secondly, I think it was because then he was a sponsor of some product for the World Cup company, something like that. So that was also part of the branding.
So maybe Zlatan wasn't agitating to be included as much as I thought from a distance.
I choose not to speak for Zlatan because he is Bill Murray-esque in that, like, if he might be outside the door right now. I don't know.
Let's put it this way. Janne Andersson did not go cap in hand or on his knees to say, Zlatan, please come and play for us at the World Cup. We desperately need you.
Nope.
He went the other way, which is basically we're fine without you. And in a Ewing way, we may be even better off without you. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although kind of some similar players in there. Not in terms of maybe like brilliant technical ability, but just like I could see why he maybe didn't need a big, tall striker to come in because he already had a big, tall striker times 2.
Yes, we will talk about those guys in just a second. My nickname for Sweden, the Blaugult, is the defenders. So it's because they'll play old school defensively. I'm sure we'll get into the tactics later. But much like the Netflix show, The Defenders, it's a low budget franchise that doesn't have big stars.
And who's the Iron Fist in that one?
I don't know. I've got to pick a player who's Iron Fist. I'm going to say, actually, the Iron Fist is Albin Ekdal, the 6'1" central midfielder who will step across you and relieve you of the ball.
Okay. Were you just making that up? Because I was going for who's the most expendable.
Well, no, so I didn't watch it, but apparently his character was much more interesting in the Defenders sort of Avengers-style thing when they all get together.
I guess you'd have to be.
If no one's seen any of these shows, this is all going to be very confusing.
Yeah, that's fine. It's never stopped us before.
Should we talk tactics?
Sure. So as you said, Sweden managed by Janne Andersson, which one of my favorite points from the Reddit preview was that's the Swedish equivalent of Ian Smith, which I love.
It is really the most Swedish name you could think of, right?
It is. Yeah. It is. Also, while we're on the subject of Andersson, like the Icelandic patronymic thing of like something son, I was going to tell you that Alisson, the Brazilian goalkeeper, is proof that the 13th Warrior is real. The plot of the 13th Warrior being that 12 Vikings have to have Antonio Banderas, who in the movie is playing an Arab, go with them to fight this evil. And I think of like Ali, that's a little bit of a Middle Eastern name. So Alisson, he's clearly descended from a Viking Arab warrior. There we go. Boom,
right.
Done.
Or maybe Dele Alli's going to be his daddy in the quarterfinals.
That could also be.
And bang goals past
That could also be. Yours is better. But anyway, Janne Andersson, as you said, it's a 4-4-2. It is a 4-4-2.
It's so old school 4-4-2. I feel like what happened is English coaches went to Sweden at some point in the past, introduced them to the 4-4-2, and Sweden said, yep, we'll take it and we'll never change it.
And so far, it's working.
I mean, yeah, so far. I mean, they're at the World Cup with it, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So they really do 4-4-2, right? It's 2 banks of 4 in the very old-fashioned way, sitting quite deep. Because there's not that much quality in the Swedish team. They go defending first. If you saw the Italy playoff game that Italy lost and then couldn't pull it back in Italy, Sweden gathered everybody in the box. I think kind of compact as well, right? Yep. Let Italy just cross it in. And Sweden said, fine, we'll head it away. That got them to the World Cup.
Yep.
But it wasn't a one-time deal.
No, it was not. Because, two legs, they win the first one 1-0. They draw the second one 0-0.
But all the other games they play as well, is what I'm saying.
Yes, also that, yeah. And I would say, though, like maybe like this might be a terminology thing because of the way I see the world. But like when you say they're compact, would you also say that they're narrow and compact?
Isn't that the same thing?
See, that's my question. Is it the same thing? Because I think of compact as being like they're like in their own defensive third, and then narrow means they're in their defensive third and like inside their own 18.
Yes,
basically.
okay, so same thing. So compact, I would say, is fullbacks are really tucked in tight towards the central defenders who are quite close together.
Interesting.
But it can also mean that the line of 4 midfielders is compact in terms of they're quite close to the back 4 as well.
Okay. See, I think I'm genuinely listeners.
I think we're saying the same thing.
We absolutely are, but we've had this before where we're saying the same thing, but we use slightly different terminology because, for me, compact is you're back towards your goal, and then your narrow means you're like away from the channels.
So we're compact squared.
Yes, exactly.
Compact squared. We are not divided by a common language.
We are not. And so, yes.
In your face, Judge Bernard Shaw.
Then with all of that said, I agree with what you said in the very beginning, which is that you get all those bodies in there, you invite, and really I saw them at times as soon as a player's marker would go wide, that Swedish player would just be like, sure, go ahead. Don't care. You can have the ball out there. Like obviously they'll put a little bit of pressure on.
I dare you to cross it. We're really scared of crosses.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
That's what Swedish sarcasm sounds like.
Yeah, they're happy for you to do that, but they're happy to tangle with you. And that's where I say Berg, to some extent, who I think will start up top. Yeah. He has a little bit of that Zlatan in him. If you go back and watch the Italy qualifier, he's big and physical. He'll win those aerial challenge, but there's moments like the ball is played over the top. He knows he's not going to get to it, and I believe it's Bonucci is in front of him. He just shoves him in the back, kind of shoves him into Buffon, and there's a little bit of a conflict there. But it was just sort of like, I'm going to let you know I'm there. I'm going to let you know I'm big. And I'm going to let you know you can't body me.
So weirdly, I would like to return to talking about the defenders in a minute. But I think let's talk about Marcus Berg since you've raised him, because I think it'll be 2 strikers in the 4-4-2, right? Unless they get super defensive and go 4-5-1. It's Berg and do we pronounce this Toivonen?
I've always said Toivonen, but
Toivonen.
Again, my Swedish is as good as your Swedish. Probably not as good.
Toivonen has not been among the goals lately for his club, but Marcus Berg, he has.
Top scorer in the qualifying group.
He also, back when he played in Greece, I think he played for Panathinaikos. Yeah. He scored plenty. Then he went to Abu Dhabi, which, again, it's
making that money.
It's maybe a step below. It's several steps below where he should be playing.
Yep.
But he scored 25 goals in 21 games. I feel like the least you can do as a centre forward, if you go to a lower division, is score more goals than you play games.
Agreed.
Is that fair?
It is.
So I wasn't familiar with Marcus Berg except as Zlatan's assistant at Euro 2016. You know what I'm saying? So one of my predictions is that Marcus Berg will step out of the shadow of Zlatan. It's very much Ewing theory type thing. And he will break Zlatan's World Cup goal-scoring record.
Which is 0?
Okay. Marcus Berg will score a goal at the World Cup, thereby shattering Zlatan Ibrahimovic's World Cup scoring record. They're tied right now.
I did the mental check. I thought, wait a minute, this seems like trickery.
So I went and watched some Berg videos.
Yeah, and so did I.
Surprisingly deadly.
And I'm really surprised, actually. I didn't watch him for, is it Al Ain? I forget who it is.
That sounds right.
Okay. I didn't watch him for that club. And I'm really surprised then, because you're right, he scored a ton of goals. But from everything I saw and everything I've heard about him, he is big and slow. Like, he is not the fastest player. He's big. He's going to win those aerial challenges. He's going to be physical. But I don't necessarily think, like, in my head that leads to being a really good goal scorer in a less technical league, because you still think that would be like, waltzing through, dribbling through, and scoring.
From what I saw, which was admittedly highlight videos, I think it's about the technique of his shooting. He seems to have this like rifle of a shot that always finds the corners.
Yep.
Like bang, bottom corner, bang, bottom corner. And then also very good in the air. And I think if you're up against players who haven't seen that type of accuracy, consistent accuracy before, you're going to score a lot of goals in Abu Dhabi. And maybe just the one goal at the World Cup.
Yep. Yeah.
So don't sleep on Berg, is what I'm saying. He's going to step out of Zlatan's shadow and be the main man.
I think he will as well. If he doesn't, though, you've got some backup options there. You've got John Guidetti, 26-year-old from Celta Vigo. We know of him from past experiences. The one we might less know of is Isaac Kiese-Thielen. I knew nothing about him until I started doing the previews.
I still know nothing about him, so please enlighten me.
Basically, Sweden are a team that, like, when I look at their roster, when I kind of made my starting 11 in the backups, it looks very much like we have a left center forward and a sub for him, and a right center forward and a sub for him. We have a left midfielder and another left midfield. Like, it's very straightforward.
All the rosters this year seem to be quite well chosen.
Yeah, quite balanced, you could say. It makes it kind of hard to write articles about people who are left off their rosters, is what I found. But this gentleman, Isaac Kiese-Thielen, is frustrating. And my prediction is that he will be frustrating and miss one big chance. And this is from a lot of the research I did. The kind of consistent narrative is that he wins long balls and is really, really good in the air. He's 6'2", but is terrible in the air in front of goal. That it seems like he can win the long ball, he can flick them on, he can put in those challenges and win those contests, but in front of goal, he just can't get it on frame.
He's no Mitrovic.
He is no Mitrovic. And so it's a running theme in this World Cup. Poor Gonzalo Higuain. I've seen him referred to as the Swedish Higuain. I think we've had the Swiss Higuain, the Swedish Higuain. There was one more in there too.
Oh, I think Higuain's been memed. Yeah,
I think so. A little bit, yeah. But he scored 19 for Vaasland Beveren in the Belgian Pro League. And again, that's sort of the narrative about him, is that he scores goals at like a lower level. When he gets opportunities at a higher level, he doesn't necessarily succeed. And so there's a lot of eyes on Isaac Kiese-Thielen as to can he come off the bench and have an impact, be a pacier option for Sweden up top, cause some problems. But I think maybe we're going to see him get that one chance in front of goal and just put that header over.
Before we return to the defending, should we talk about the one creative player that Sweden has?
Sure.
Just the one creative player, but he's very, very good. His name is Emil Forsberg.
Yep.
He plays for RB Leipzig, and he has so many feints that he should see a doctor.
I like that. I would also say that he is a player who I have as 100% getting a move this summer. He has already said he would like a move.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh.
Because no Champions League.
Yeah, he's already intimated that. But he really is, if you look at all of the boxes are ticked for this gentleman. So Swedish Player of the Year for 2014, 2016, 2017. But the reason why I think he is locked on to get a move, he's a 26-year-old winger for RB Leipzig, as you said. He moved there when they were in Bundesliga 2. So they were a second division team when he moved there. Now they are obviously not. He extended his contract in 2016. It runs through 2021, which means he has 2 years left on that contract, which is the amount of time when you think of him moving from Malmo to a second division team. Now they're challenging for Champions League, have been in the Champions League. He has 2 years left on his contract. A strong tournament where he is really the creative option for Sweden. I have a feeling RB Leipzig are going to be getting some offers.
I also think he'll have a real chance to stand out because he's the one really creative spark, right? All the guys can play, right? If you go into a World Cup, you can play. But some guys have that extra, right? Emil Forsberg has that extra. He'll play left mid. He's right-footed. He's going to wander in field, I think, when Sweden have the ball, and he'll be playing nice little through balls. He'll be beating people. Like I said, with the feints, he'll drop the shoulder. He'll have some moves. He'll be... If watching Sweden games gets a bit monotonous, he'll be the relief. He'll be the relief for your eyes.
He'll be the relief for your eyes. I think you're right, though. I mean, he is, again, several different previews were like, creative players, Forsberg. And that's it.
He'll also take some free kicks. His free kicks will be worth watching. I've seen him bend some in from long range with that right foot. So, yeah, Emil Forsberg. And UEFA pronunciation guide, you're not getting us this year.
Forsberg?
Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They were trying to get us to pronounce it Forsberg.
Which one do you think is more accurate? That one or the one that deliberately butchers the last name?
Oh, that YouTube channel is magnificent.
I agree, except for the times when I'm actually looking for how to pronounce something and I forget and I click on it and then I feel foolish.
It's such a great move, though. Any other midfielders you want to talk about before we go back to that defence? I know I'm so excited for the defence.
Seb Larsson, probably.
Yeah, he'll be central midfielder.
He was not expected to be there. I forget the gentleman. Johansson, I think it was. He's the one who scored the winner against Italy, the deflected winner. picked up an injury. He won't be there, so it will be Seb Larsson instead. And it's that Seb Larsson, 33 years old from Hull City, formerly of Sunderland. Yeah. It's the one who you're like, wait, that guy? He's still there? Because I had that. I was like, ooh, this Larsson fellow keeps starting for them.
The Arsenal youngster?
Was he there too?
Yeah, that's where he started.
All right.
Yeah, I'm certain.
Yes, so I think he will be there, which is a bit of a surprise. But I can't say whether or not that's a bad surprise or not. We'll have to wait and see.
His partner will be Albin Ekdal of Hamburg, who I think I mentioned at the top of the show when you asked me for someone. I can't remember why you asked me, but I named Albin Ekdal. He will be the destroyer in midfield. I watched a lot of highlights of him tackling people, and he just sort of steps across you, knocks you out the way a little bit with his shoulder, takes the ball off of you. Albin Ekdal is a guy to watch in central midfield.
I'm going to guess you're going to roll your eyes at this because I've rolled my eyes whenever anybody else has said it, but he's one of those Football Manager guys for me. That's how I know him, is that he's like, you could sign him for cheap and he would skyrocket in his ability, so that's where I'm like, oh, I've seen you digitally many, many times.
He's also another one with Hamburg, so he might be playing for a move as well.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility.
Yeah. Back to the defence?
Back to the defence.
Okay, here's how you know that it's a compact back four.
Here's how you know what their strength is going to be, is that we preview the weakness first. is what I'm realizing.
The big standout thing to me is Mikael Lustig is the 6'1" right back.
Yep.
So they have a right back who's basically a centre back. Yeah?
I've got things to say about Mikael Lustig.
Oh, let's hear him. Let's hear him.
Do you have nice things to say about him before I start talking about him?
I don't have anything too specific.
Okay. Because I have a specific prediction that he will give us a talking point. And I'm guessing it will be more so negative than an amazing challenge.
Why so?
So he is the fans' preference. It's between him and Emil Kraft.
Yes.
And I think everybody would like to see Lustig. By all accounts, he is the more consistent, reliable player there.
I know a little bit about Kraft. He's a youngster. He's very fast. He will bump forward. He does that for Bologna. But it doesn't quite fit with what Sweden are doing, right? I mean, maybe if they're losing. So Kraft is actually my young player who might get a move because I think there's a chance maybe he does something impressive. But mostly Sweden are going to go with their big defensive right back, aren't they?
But I think that could be a problem. If you go back to the 0-0 draw against Italy, which was the second leg when the pressure was on, there were some moments. He kneed Matteo Darmian. It absolutely should have been a penalty. He just came through and kneed him in the chest as Darmian was trying to settle the ball in the box. That wasn't called, but that was kind of representative of his performance. It was very physical to the point. It was right on the edge of kind of getting a couple yellow cards or conceding a penalty or conceding too many free kicks. He was just very happy to knock some players around. There was an element of ball watching as well. I saw him get sort of trying to hold the line but tucked inside. When
the offside line?
Yeah, when Sweden were a little bit too far forward, Italy had a few opportunities where that long diagonal was played, and he just kind of watched it go over his head and then realized there was somebody behind him.
The Graham Zusi of Sweden.
Yeah, and then exactly. And the only other thing that I saw that I found particularly interesting was, as we said, compact, narrow, what have you. Most of the Swedish players were content to go inside and basically invite that cross. And 2 or 3 times I saw him sort of panic and try to run to his mark, and that left 2v1 situations where then they played around him, and suddenly they're in, and now they bypass him. They can play that low ball in. So there were just moments there when he seemed to be the weak link in that very resolute defensive Blaugold wall, is what I'm going to call it. So I just wonder if he gives us a moment where either he concedes a penalty because he's being too physical, or he gets beat and it leads to a goal. And basically, maybe I won't even go the penalty route. Maybe I'll go, we won't notice it at first, but when we do like a quick rewatch of how Sweden conceded that goal, he'll be the one who put in a sliding challenge when he shouldn't have, and that led to a breakaway. Something like that.
Why were Chucky Lozano and Chicharito playing 1-2s all the way down that side?
I didn't think about that one. They're very good.
Yeah, that's a big challenge for Lustig. The reason I wanted to focus on the defence, though, is because my second prediction revolves around Swedish centre-back Victor Lindelof. 23 years old, joined Manchester United this past season, had a horrible year. Did not go well for him at Old Trafford. My understanding at Man United, though, is that they're sort of thinking this is going to be okay long-term. This is going to work out. I think Victor Lindelof has all the defensive skills. He's very fast. He's very aggressive, very good in the air, really good at like stepping and winning and blocking. I think the way Sweden play, by allowing teams to cross, is primed for Victor Lindelof to have a standout tournament. So my prediction is that Victor Lindelof's reputation will be redeemed at the 2018 World Cup.
So is that just because you think he'll win those balls, or is it just because you think he'll marshal that defense and be the leader? Like, what is it do you think that will make him sort of stand out?
All of the above. I think it's just all set up for Sweden's centre-backs to do what they do best, head things away, make some blocks, make some tackles. And, you're sort of protected by the people around you because you're not exposed one-on-one.
Yeah.
Right? Which I know is a thing that happened at Manchester United.
True.
So it's all set up for him to succeed.
I would say it's all set up for him to succeed because he is partnering Andreas Granqvist, who I think is a key part of if Lindelof does look very good. He's a very good center back, and I like him a lot. I think Granqvist is the one who will be the one that makes Lindelof look good. He is the veteran 33-year-old center back captain. He's the rock. He plays for Krasnodar. He shut down Italy. He led that defense. He won a lot of those challenges. Did not shy away from any sort of physical affairs without being overly aggressive. I thought he was an excellent center back, but I think I'm with you that those two combined are going to be very difficult to break down.
That's a nice combo as well, right? 33-year-old experienced center back and 23-year-old up-and-comer.
And that's
who maybe needs a bit of guidance and confidence.
But that's kind of representative of this team. It is a lot of those young players who I think won the Euro U19s a while ago, or one of those competitions went deep into it. But there's a lot of youth or relative youth in this team combined with a lot of that sage wisdom and experience.
So maybe like a Jedi apprentice situation goes on.
Sure. More Jedis involved in this group.
Do you consider Sweden fully previewed?
Other than the fact, I almost tweeted this last night, and then I was like, I don't need to tweet this, but I will say it now. Their left back is named Ludwig, and if you need Ludwig, excuse me, and if you need a reason to root for them, they have a left back named Ludwig.
My reason to root for them would be maybe you really like IKEA.
That works, but I think Forsberg is one. If I were going to make a list of like the 10 players I'm most excited to watch, he's on there. Okay. He's definitely on there.
Oh, we should also shout out to Seattle fans because Gustav Svensson, defensive midfielder, made the roster. I don't think he's going to start, but there's a very good chance he will play at some point.
I think there's a very, very good chance he plays.
So Seattle fans can get a look at Gustav Svensson.
Hooray!
Yay!
But I will say before we move to Korea, I did want to note, the one thing I don't like about doing these previews is every team I preview, I'm like, you know what? I think they're going to go far. I think they get out of this group every single time. And that has been the case very much with the first 3 teams that we have previewed. Yeah. So I was like, Mexico, okay. Mexico could make a okay, Sweden. Like, I see what you're doing here. I don't know if I'm going to extend that one to Korea, but that's why we do the previews.
You're not feeling it for Korea?
Not so much. Not so much.
Let's get to the preview.
Let's do it.
Okay. Korea.
Yeah.
South Korea. The Republic of Korea?
The Republic of Korea, not South Korea, is what I was told by their Consul General.
Right,
I didn't love that one.
That's just, not colloquial, it's just a term that we've started.
It's an easyism.
Yeah, an easyism. That's a great phrase. Like East Germany, West Germany was not a thing either, right? But it's South Korea.
It's whichever one has more Democrat and Republicans in them, like the Democratic People's Republic of.
Yes.
It's the one that you don't want to be in.
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
It's protesting too much.
The more things. Yeah, it's the same way. Freedom fighters are rarely freedom fighters.
Okay, Korea's nickname is either the Taeguk Warriors or the Red Devils.
I'm going to go Taeguk Warriors here.
Okay.
And I'm going to say that because I looked up what Taeguk means, and it's there's a lot to it, and it relates to the flag, how it looks like yin-yang. It isn't, but basically. But it means supreme ultimate is what Taeguk means. And if you put that together, Dale Grove, I'm pretty sure you've got the Ultimate Warriors. You've got a team of the Ultimate Warriors, and I don't know what else you would want.
Do you not have an alternative nickname?
I do have an alternative nickname. It's the 2010 U.S. national team.
Excuse me?
That's really what I'm feeling with this team. All right.
Wait, they did okay though, right?
They did okay. They got out of the group. But were they exciting? Think of the goal they scored against England is what I'm going to say. Like, it's exciting. They tied England. We didn't see that coming. But it wasn't like they played beautiful soccer.
It was dramatic.
And it was dramatic. And they had a talismanic player who really was going to be the one who was going to be responsible for scoring the goals, Landon Donovan. Son. But I would also say, not that exciting, criticized for being overly defensive. Other coaching options were sexier, but they went with the man who'd already been there as in an interim capacity and then also with other teams, and one talismanic goal scorer who's pacey and prefers to play wide.
So Shin Tae-young is the Korean Bob Bradley.
To some extent, why not? Yeah. So he's the former Olympics coach, Korea's Olympics coach. He replaced former manager Uli Stielike. Again,
German?
my German pronunciation is not great. He's now managing in China. But they had other options. So Senel Gunesh, who's the current manager of Besiktas, who's a very attacking, exciting young manager. He had managed and played, I think, in Korea, so for FC Seoul. So then he was interested in the position. They didn't give it to him. Bert van Marwijk was in conversations, but those conversations break down, a recurring theme with him. So they basically gave it to Shin Tae-young, who is pretty inexperienced when it comes to senior management. He's had a few gigs. This is obviously the most high profile.
It makes me think I could coach at the World Cup one day if I'm just in the right place at the right time.
Maybe.
Or is that disrespectful to Shin Tae-young?
Oh, it's certainly disrespectful. But again, there are lots of managers who sort of, they were managing or they were an assistant coach and then suddenly they just kind of, it's maybe the Peter principle.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Gareth Southgate's an example, right?
Yeah.
Or Lopetegui in Spain. You just coach the youth teams and you end up with the full team at some point.
Someone should write an article about that because it feels like a trend that seems to be happening.
If Tab Ramos gets the US men's national team job, then it's definitely a trend.
We shall see.
We shall see. Okay, so why else are they the 2010 team?
I really do think it's because they are not going to be as exciting, and I think that they know that. Like, it's not going to be the 2002 Korea team that we all kind of remember for the insane passion of the fans, but the insane passion of the players. That's obviously still going to be there, but they don't have, I think, all around the technical ability that 2002 team had. So they're going to make up for it by working incredibly hard and trying to be very disciplined. And that kind of reminds me of that Bob Bradley team. But again, they're very, very defensive. And do you remember all the jokes about, like, there was the meme of Bob Bradley looking like with like a furrow brow at the field, and the joke was he's trying to figure out how to put 3 defensive midfielders on there.
Yeah.
Jokes like that would apply here.
So I hadn't thought of this, but it also reminds me of the 2009 US team because there's quite a lot of pace up front. The difference between Charlie Davies in 2009, not in 2010. My nickname for this Korea team is the Breakaways.
Oh,
the Breakaways.
I remembered more reasons, and they related to Charlie Davies, and they're kind of depressing.
Okay, so let's not get into those.
Okay.
I'm calling them the Breakaways because we don't know the formation, because Shin Tae-young has moved things around a little bit.
A little bit.
I've seen them in a 4-4-2 against Honduras. I've seen them in various attacking formations. But the two guys that almost always seem to feature are Son Heung-min of Tottenham Hotspur. Spurs fans will be very familiar with Son Heung-min. He is fast. He is rapid. And I think less familiar, Hwang Hee-chan, who plays for Red Bull Salzburg in the Austrian Bundesliga. Red Bull Salzburg, not Leipzig.
Yep.
He is also rapid.
Yep.
So they have at least 2 rapid strikers. And I see a lot of Korea essentially just trying to force the ball through the gaps for these guys to run onto. That seems to be part of their game plan.
Yes. And I think
you've seen more of this team than I have, though.
A little bit. But I would say, thank you. I forgot the key point here because I am a little bit down on Korea, and it's not just because, the manager or whatever. It's because, similar to the U.S. in 2010 with the injury to Charlie Davies, it really changed the way the United States approached a lot of their games, the way they approached their attacking game plan. This team has been rocked by injuries.
Ooh, okay.
So we've got Kwon Chang-hoon, ruptured his Achilles, could have been a breakout player in this tournament, but he was the one who I think a lot of people thought could jumpstart the attack, could link play, could be the kind of Forsberg player where he can obviously score goals, but he can dribble at people. He can be a little bit more creative. Lee Kyun-ho, who's a veteran attacker, a regular player. He got in a car crash.
I recognize his name. Did he?
Car crash, so he's out. Kim Jun-soo is a veteran defender. He injured his knee in a March friendly. He is out. He was a late cut from the squad. Lee Chung-young, Crystal Palace winger, didn't get very minutes this season, so he wasn't in the form they wanted. He was cut. And defender Kim Min-jae and midfielder Yeom Ki-hyun out of the initial squad due to injury as well. They were expected to be starters. So you're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at least-ish potential starters for a team. And then you look at what they're having to do to replace those players, and you understand why it's sort of like, all right, you know what? We're going to give it to these 2 guys who can score goals. Everybody else defend.
Sometimes a crisis is an opportunity.
You're not wrong.
So who is the? So I'm very aware as well that especially if you're not familiar with the Korean team,
It's
going to be. But for listeners, it's going to be hard to remember all the names you said, and for me as well. So who was the sort of creative player who could unlock defenses that ended up getting left out?
Kwon Chang-hoon.
And injured or dropped?
Injured, ruptured his Achilles.
Very injured.
Yes.
I think I'm not confident in this, but I think his absence may be the reason that a young man by the name of Lee Sung-woo made the squad.
I think you are absolutely correct.
So Lee Sung-woo is part of the Total Soccer Show scouting network. He was at La Masia for Barcelona, he was known as the Korean Messi.
It's La Masia, I think.
So Lee Sung-woo, since being part of the Barcelona Academy, has moved on and is playing for Verona in Italy. Didn't play a load of games, but he's playing first-team football in Italy at 20 years old as a creative attacking midfielder.
Hellas Verona. It's worth noting because I am fairly confident that some feuds can start in Verona. We don't want to mess with that. So Hellas Verona is the club there.
So I don't think Lee Sung-woo will start. This is based on me just looking at starting lineups. I also think there are some flaws in his game. I think maybe he's a little selfish. Maybe he likes to dribble a little bit too much. But it does make him exciting. I vaguely remember him from the U20 World Cup. I think he sort of led the Korean team in terms of dribbling at the U20 World Cup. So look out for Lee Sung-woo, who was once known and may still futurely be known, that's not a word, as the Korean Messi.
And I think look out for him because, he is a spark to an offense that doesn't have many sparks. In 10 games in Asian qualifying, 11 goals. Not the strongest of performances. They scored in only one of their 5 away games. So it's not a team that are going to score massive goals, set the world alight. So I think if you can find those sparks, you're going to take them and need them.
Why isn't Son Heung-min banging in goals left, right and centre for Korea? As he did for Spurs.
So, again, I've only watched limited amounts of the Korean national team and read what I can, but it sounds like he is a player who is sort of similar to Leo Messi with Argentina. That he is far...
So Son Heung-min's the Korean Messi, but in a bad way.
Yeah. He is far and away their best player. He's far and away their most famous player.
I saw him with a red armband. Is he captain?
I believe... No, it's Key.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Key from Swansea is the captain. But I would assume that Son Heung-min is the vice captain. But he is the player who... When he gets the ball, the entire stadium is going nuts because he's the one that they think is going to score.
Do they all shout, "No pressure"?
Not so much, no. They don't get down on him as much, but I definitely would see these moments where he would be winding up to shoot from 40 yards out, and the stadium was already reacting like, "Oh, he's done it," and then he didn't. And I think there's so much pressure on him that it really makes it hard for him to sort of be the electric player that he is for Spurs. Part of that is then, part of the way Shin Tae-yong is trying to deal with that. I've seen some people saying that basically he's trying to change their formation and approach so that it's more like Tottenham, hence that shift to the 4-4-2.
They signed Christian Eriksen.
Because, that too. But Shin, apparently, he wanted to play a back three. That was what he thought was going to get them there. He's tried that. It hasn't worked so well.
That's what was going to get them to a more Tottenham style.
No, I think he went away from a back three into a back four so that they could play more of a Tottenham style to get on the left to get him more attacking opportunities down that left-hand channel. But I think you're still going to see moments, and this is one of my predictions, where you will see Son Heung-min visibly frustrate a teammate. And that's because he wants them to play this cohesive unit. Shin does, the manager. But I think really it's about get Son the ball. He's going to be the one who's going to get us opportunities. And so you see him dribbling and shooting a lot. And it already happened in the Bosnia game twice. I saw Hwang throw his arms up in frustration.
That's the strike partner.
Yeah.
Hwang Hee-chan.
Thank you. I saw him put his arms up in the air in frustration because Son dribbled around him to get a shot off. And they could have combined on some plays.
Around him?
Yeah. He kind of used him as a screen to get an open shot. And so I think it's going to be him looking to get shots because he knows that he is going to be the one to score, he being Son.
Yeah.
But I think that can also set him up to frustrate his teammates on occasion.
Interesting. That plays into my prediction, which is that either Son Heung-min or Hwang Hee-chan will score on a breakaway.
Yep.
I think that's their best opportunity is if they can rely on their pace and running in behind because they can both finish. At least Hwang can finish in the Austrian Bundesliga. I'm not sure how well that translates to a World Cup. But they will score on a breakaway.
Yep. Okay. I like it. I think they also might get scored on a couple times, and I think that might necessitate some changes.
Interesting.
So my other prediction is that Korea will play 2 different formations in the group stages. So as you said, I had a very difficult time nailing down what I thought their starting 11 was going to be. I think I have 12 different lineups written down on different pieces of paper.
I've seen the notes.
Goodness gracious. And I think a big part of that is because Shin Tae-yong has tried different things to get this team going. Some have worked to some extent, some have not. And so I think you're going to see him maybe start with a back three, and I don't think that will work very well. I saw that get torn apart a lot in some friendlies where people just didn't seem to quite understand where they were supposed to be and who was supposed to be marking whom. So I wonder if they do that in the first game, and if it doesn't go very well, do we see him change it, and then do we see him maybe change it again for the third game?
I've just realised we know it's Germany-Mexico is the first game, or is the game in Group F. So that means the other game
is Sweden-Korea.
Sweden-Korea. There's not going to be much space to score on the breakaway behind that Sweden team, is there?
You never know. I mean, one team has to get stretched at some point. It's kind of the nature of the beast. But I do think one of my favorite things about doing these previews, aside from the fact that they get me hyped about every single team, is that you learn...
They're all going to win the World Cup.
Yeah, of course. That's how it's going to work. You learn a lot about like the culture and style and star players and everything else. One thing I kind of didn't really know is that military service, I knew it was compulsory in Korea. I knew that players could theoretically opt out, but you have to get special dispensation, and it's special. That's the thing I didn't realize.
Like getting to the 2002 World Cup semi-final special. Is this a Henry Bushnell story?
No, it's not. It's not. It's actually quite the opposite, because his point was like if they do really well, then maybe they'll opt out, except that several of them have already served, which I found fascinating. So there are two teams in Korea. There's probably more, but these are the two that I know of. Sangju Sangmu and Asan Mugungawa, something like that, I apologize, are military service teams. That basically, if you are actively serving, they are military service teams for professional soccer players that are doing their military service.
Does just playing for the team count as your service, or is it a team that accommodates your service and structures around it?
I believe that. I think they both play in like the second division or like semi-pro, so I would say more so the structuring it around. But Lee Myung-ju and Ju Se-jong completed it recently, both of them playing for teams of conscripted players now going to the World Cup. So I found that fascinating, and I think I texted you a photo of like one of the team's jerseys they're all camo, or at least two of the three are camo jerseys.
Oh, that's what that was about.
Yes.
I didn't know why.
I was like, I'm going to bring this up later because they're like bright red and bright blue camo because those are the military teams.
All right.
So you can see them
sharing that because that's like an interesting Korean.
Yeah, I just found it really interesting that like there's so many different wrinkles to these teams that we don't ever even consider. So again, that was Kim Min-woo, that's playing for Sangju Sangmu. He's a 28-year-old left back and left wing back. I think he very well may start either as a left back or as a left wing back, depending on what formation.
So when you see him, you'll be like, that man's done his service.
That man has done his service. Sort of. Same thing for Ju Se-jong of Asan Mugungawa. Oof, that's terrible. I apologize. 27-year-old. He's probably a substitute central midfielder for Korea.
All right. I retract the sort of.
Yeah.
So I remember that it wasn't just playing for the team.
Yeah, but still.
Okay.
I get you.
Other Korean players that we should talk about, I believe.
Or try to talk about if
try
it's me.
to talk about.
Yeah.
Well, someone we've seen a lot of just watching the Premier League is Ki Sung-young.
Yep.
6'2" central midfielder.
Yep.
You will have seen him playing for Swansea. They got relegated. He is out of contract. He is one of those rare players that goes to a tournament like the World Cup with the word unattached next to his name. Ki Sung-young is unattached.
29-year-old, forgive me if you've already said that, but he is one who we know what he's capable of at like Premier League level. I would imagine he will stay at around Premier League level, but I think he's one of those where his performance in this tournament might dictate what level of Premier League it is.
Yes. Here's what you'll see from Ki at the World Cup. Diagonal arrows. He strikes these passes that are like diagonal arrows all over the field. And I'm not talking Michael Bradley chipped up in the air diagonals. I'm talking a weird way that he strikes the ball, that it goes fast and low and to the wings. So I think if Korea are trying to hit on the counter, his balls from midfield out to the wings or maybe in behind will be really essential. So look out for Ki Sung-young, 6'2" in the middle, spraying diagonal arrows everywhere.
Indeed. He's also one who has started at like more of a number 8 spot, more of a number 6 spot. He's also started in central defense for them.
Yeah, of a back three, right? Jermaine Jones did it for a spell.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see him sort of doing all three of those roles for Korea at various points in this tournament, because I think he's going to be one who kind of unifies that midfield, obviously has the technical ability to play out of pressure, but can certainly drop in and help sort of defend when you've got, say, a team like maybe Germany is kind of swarming at you. You have more options there defensively. And
then I also got a good look at a starting centre-back, because I wasn't familiar with any Korean centre-backs. So I watched a lot of Jang Hyun-soo.
Sure.
Jang Hyun-soo, who plays for FC Tokyo. He plays in the J League.
This man is aggressive. This man will sprint 10 yards to lunge in front of you and tackle you. And when he's successful, it's worth standing up and applauding. If you see him do this at the World Cup, you should stand up and applaud. But I predict what you'll see is him give away a free kick that leads to a goal.
I think that's an excellent prediction.
Why so?
Because I have heard many people say, I want him to start because he's probably one of our best center backs. I've seen many people writing Korea previews or like Korean fan blogs saying that, but then also saying, but he is kind of a liability because he's very aggressive. And I think that, by all accounts, is not a hallmark of the Korean game. It is not a physical, knock you off the ball, like get in your face. Now, Italy in 2002 might disagree, but generally speaking, that's the case. He is one who kind of bucks that trend, but can buck it too far.
He can buck it too far. Overbooked.
Yeah.
His name again is Jang Hyun Soo. He'll be worth applauding, and it might also cause you to cringe a little bit.
Yes.
Anything else on Korea for me?
No, I mean, other than it's just as with every team at the World Cup, there are, even with everything I've said about how I think they're going to be very pragmatic, they're going to get numbers behind the ball, they've got like 2 players who are going to be doing the goal scoring for them, and those are the players to watch. I just still think it's always interesting, and I think they're especially interesting because coming off of 2014, it was a very, very bad tournament for them, exacerbated by the fact that for some reason, I didn't go too far in depth on this one, but for some reason it's a tradition that if the team underperforms, they get toffees thrown at them. And when they came back from Brazil, when they landed at the airport, there was a crowd waiting to throw toffees at them.
Wow.
So if for no other reason, they don't want toffees thrown at them again.
So maybe a reason to support them is to hope that they don't get toffees thrown at them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Unless maybe that's where Key ends up is Everton, and then it's a branded sponsorship.
He would get it twice. He'd get them thrown at him when he goes back after the World Cup by Koreans, and then when he joins Everton, they'll throw toffees at him.
Yeah, all right. It works. It all comes together.
But Key hates toffees.
Oh, now it's sad again.
Anything else on Korea?
Nope.
Korea, consider yourself previewed.
Supreme Ultimate Warriors.
Group F, consider yourself previewed.
Less Supreme Ultimate Warriors.
We have Group G and Group H to go. We know the tournament's coming. We'll get Group G and Group H previewed early next week. So Monday, Tuesday, we'll get Group G, Group H out there. I
need a couple of days of not trying to come up with theoretical starting 11s.
So you're actually going to a wedding this weekend, right? So you'll be out of pocket.
I will be. I am slightly concerned that my wife is one day going to start to wonder if she's in the plot of A Beautiful Mind, because she goes to bed like several hours before I do. Lately, it's been many hours before I do. And she comes downstairs to just like notepad pieces of paper, legal pad pieces of paper that just have random designs and patterns, I'm sure, in her eyes scribbled on them.
Korean formations.
Yes, and they're all gibberish and they're all sloppily written. So I'm sure she's like, I don't know what's happening, but if I start seeing red string connecting dots, I'm calling somebody.
We're not far off. Right?
If he starts putting envelopes into a vacant house, I know that he's mailing somebody who doesn't exist.
I could see doing sort of Chicharito's movement with Tecatito and Chucky Lozano and with red string.
I mean, first of all, we've done that in this office. So maybe not with the red string, but we have definitely mapped movement.
Don't show Margaret.
I won't. Yeah, I need to hide that. It's a flip whiteboard so she can't see.
All right, Group F, do we have any rough predictions? I'm never comfortable doing this, but I assume Germany's winning this group.
I think so.
Yeah? Mm-hmm. And then I feel good about Mexico. I feel really good about Mexico taking second. There, I did it.
Yeah, I mean, I would say I think that Mexico-Sweden game is the most important game in terms of who else goes through, because I think I could see nobody taking points off of Germany. I could see maybe somebody getting a draw. I could see both of those teams beating Korea. You never know. I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Korea, but again, they've had the injuries. They've got the managerial turnover. Mm-hmm. They're still trying to figure out their best formation a couple days before it starts.
They got Jang Hyun Soo fouling people everywhere.
There we go. So I think it's going to come to that Mexico-Sweden game. Whoever wins that one, I would say, is going to go through to the next round.
All right. So there's your Group F preview. Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. Please support our sponsors, Squarespace and Roughneck Scarves. We will be back early next week. We will review the USA v France. We will preview Group G and Group H.